You ever hear someone say something about you that stung right in your chest, but when you looked surprised, they laughed and said, "Oh, I'm just joking." They smiled, maybe even nudged you like it was all in good fun. But deep down, you knew something wasn't right. You knew that wasn't a joke, that was a shot. That was venom disguised in a smile. You see, when someone close to you secretly harbors hatred in their heart, they rarely come out and say it directly. No, they're too smart for that, too careful. Instead, they weaponize humor. They wrap their insults in laughter so they can hurt you and make you feel guilty for feeling hurt. It's a game they play with your mind. Because if you confront them, they'll say you're too sensitive, that you don't know how to take a joke. And just like that, they flip the script and make you question yourself. That's not love. That's manipulation. Words have power. The Bible says that death and life are in the power of the tongue. You better believe that. A person who jokes about your insecurities, who teases you about your appearance, your dreams, your failures repeatedly, they are not just playing. They're performing their resentment. And their performance has a purpose: to chip away at your confidence without ever taking accountability. Now I want to talk to the one who's been laughing along with these kinds of people. I want to talk to the soul who's been making excuses for someone who constantly makes them the punchline. You've been swallowing that pain because you don't want to lose the relationship. You tell yourself it's just how they are. You say they mean well even when your heart knows better. Let me tell you something, just because they're close doesn't mean they care. Just because you've known them for years doesn't mean they love you right. There's a difference between friendly teasing and subtle cruelty. One builds connection, the other builds walls. And if you've ever walked away from someone's joke feeling smaller than when you came in, that wasn't love talking. That was hate whispering, and some of the deepest wounds are made by people who hide behind humor because they don't have the courage to speak their bitterness out loud. But let's be real, it's not always easy to see it. When someone's been in your life for a long time, you start believing their behavior is normal. You accept their harshness because you've grown numb to it. But the longer you let it slide, the deeper it cuts. Silence becomes permission. Laughter becomes denial. And your soul begins to carry a weight it was never meant to bear. That's why it's so important to test the spirit behind the words. Not just what they say, but how they say it when they say it and why they say it. Ask yourself, are they building me up or tearing me down? Are they speaking life into me, or are they draining it out with every smile that hides a jab? Let me tell you something powerful. God did not create you to be somebody's emotional punching bag. He did not design your spirit to endure hidden hostility dressed up as humor. No, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Your worth is not up for debate. And any person who tries to lower your value with backhanded comments is not operating in love. They are operating in pride, envy, and unhealed darkness. You don't have to shout back. You don't have to return insult for insult, but you do have to see it. You do have to protect your peace, because if you don't set boundaries with people who hide their hatred in jokes, they'll keep taking pieces of your identity while pretending to care. There's healing in the truth. There's power in discernment. And there's freedom in finally saying that's not okay. You can love someone and still refuse to let them disrespect you. You can forgive someone and still create distance between your heart and their poison. Don't let your loyalty become your prison. Some people are close in body but far in spirit. They dine at your table, but they bring nothing but shadows. They want access to your joy, but they resent your light. And when they can't dim it directly, they joke. They smirk. They chip away at it, one sarcastic comment at a time. But hear me, you don't have to live under that anymore. You don't have to pretend you're not hurting. You don't have to carry their silent hatred. It's your burden to bear. You can let it go. You can walk in truth. You can rise above it. Because the God who sees the heart sees yours too. He knows what you've endured. He knows the words that stung and the nights you cried from a joke you were too afraid to question. And He's calling you to rise, to see, to choose peace over proximity, to protect your soul like it matters, because it does. There's something sacred about joy, real, deep, honest joy. It's not loud. It's not showy. It's not envious. It's a quiet, powerful celebration of someone else's victory. And when someone truly loves you, they rejoice with you. They see your breakthrough, your success, your answered prayers, and something in their spirit says, "Yes, Lord, thank you for blessing them." But when someone close to you secretly hates you, they can't bring themselves to do that. They might say congratulations with their lips, but their heart is nowhere near the moment. Their words are hollow. Their smile fades too fast. You can feel it. You can feel it in the silence that follows your good news. You can feel it in their forced applause. You can feel it when you look in their eyes and there's no light, no warmth, no sincerity, just tension. It's hard, isn't it? Hard to accept that someone you care about, someone you've let close, might not want to see you rise. They don't say it outright. They're careful with their words. But the absence of joy is still a message. The delay in their response is still a sign. Because if someone is truly for you, you don't have to shrink yourself when you win. You don't have to second guess whether they're proud of you. You don't have to tiptoe around your blessings to protect their ego. You are not made to dim your light just to keep someone else comfortable. If they loved you right, they'd want your light to shine bright even if theirs is flickering. They would cheer from the heart, not just from the mouth. They would say, "I'm proud of you," and mean it, not just mimic it. But when someone secretly resents you, your success becomes their discomfort. Your blessings feel like threats. And they'll try to keep the conversation short, steer it away from what God is doing in your life, and pretend like it's nothing special. Let me tell you something, not everyone who claps for you is clapping for you. Some are clapping because they don't want to be seen as bitter. Some are clapping because they think they have to. And some are clapping just loud enough to mask the jealousy boiling underneath. But you can't fake real love. You can't disguise genuine support. Love doesn't envy. Love celebrates. When you tell them you've been promoted and they say, "Must be nice," pay attention. When you share that you're finally healing and they change the subject, remember that. When you open your heart and they stay silent, don't ignore that silence. Silence speaks. Silence reveals what words try to hide. The people who are truly for you will have joy that overflows when you rise. But the ones who secretly hate you will treat your success like a burden they're forced to carry. And I want to say something to the person who's been downplaying their growth to make someone else feel better. I know you want peace. I know you don't want to lose that connection. But you've been robbing yourself of celebration, robbing yourself of gratitude because you're afraid of how they'll respond. And that's not how love works. That's not friendship. That's not family. That's fear. And you weren't given a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. Don't let their quiet resentment rob you of the moment God gave you. Don't hold your breath when you're meant to breathe deep. Don't whisper good news when heaven is shouting over you. If they can't rejoice with you, maybe they're not meant to walk with you. And I know that hurts. I know that's hard to accept. But it's better to walk with 2 honest souls than 10 silent enemies. Sometimes people you've known for years start to feel distant. And it's not because life got busy, it's because your progress made them uncomfortable. And you didn't do anything wrong. You didn't change to hurt them. You just grew. You healed. You stepped into the purpose God placed inside you. And your light exposed their shadows. Your elevation challenged their complacency. And instead of letting your journey inspire them, they chose to resent it. But let me encourage you, keep going, keep rising. Keep walking in what God has called you to do. But don't look back for those who refuse to walk with you. Don't beg for support from people who secretly hope you fall. The same God who lifted you will sustain you. The same God who gave you that victory will surround you with people who know how to celebrate without jealousy, support without hesitation. and love without condition. You don't need forced applause when heaven is already standing. There's something unsettling about a person who watches you closely not to learn from you, not to grow beside you, but to quietly compete with you. They study your moves, your style, your habits. At first you think it's admiration. You think maybe they're inspired by your discipline, your courage, your ideas. But over time you begin to see the difference. They don't just admire, they imitate. And not in a way that lifts you both higher, but in a way that quietly tries to replace you. It starts small. You tell them about a new project you're working on, and suddenly they're doing something similar but louder, more public. You share your dreams in confidence, and a few weeks later they're pursuing the very thing you said mattered to you. And not once do they say, "You inspired me." Not once do they acknowledge that they're walking a path they first saw in you. Why? Because this isn't about growth, it's about competition. See, when someone close to you secretly hates you, they don't always show it with harsh words. No, their weapon is imitation. They mimic your moves, but not your heart. They copy your work, but not your soul. Because deep down, they don't want to walk with you, they want to keep up with you. They don't want to cheer you on, they want to outdo you. And what's worse is they never say it. They never admit it. But their actions betray their intentions. And you begin to feel it. You begin to notice that every time you grow, they try to grow too. But not because they're chasing purpose. They're chasing your footsteps. They're trying to prove something not to the world, but to you. And that's how you know it's not love. That's how you know it's not real friendship. Because love doesn't compete. Love doesn't envy. Love doesn't need to imitate, it supports. It affirms, it celebrates. Let me tell you something about purpose. God didn't create your path so someone else could steal it. He didn't give you a vision so someone close to you could twist it into their own mirror. The anointing He placed on your life is yours. The gifts He gave you are tailor-made. And anyone who tries to wear what fits you is walking in counterfeit. And a counterfeit spirit can't carry the weight of divine purpose. That's why they struggle. That's why they copy, because they're not rooted in calling, they're drowning in comparison. And I want to speak to the heart that's been confused. You've been asking yourself, am I being paranoid? You've noticed the patterns, but you've tried to give the benefit of the doubt. You've told yourself they're just inspired. But if inspiration doesn't come with honor, it's not inspiration, it's silent envy. If someone constantly borrows your ideas, your style, your language, but never gives credit, never affirms your influence, they're not walking with you, they're competing with you. You weren't created to compete. You were created to complete the assignment God gave you, to complete the work only you can do. But when someone close to you begins to see you as a threat instead of a gift, they shift. And that shift is often subtle. It comes in the form of passive aggression, cold shoulders, dismissive comments, a strange tension every time you win. Because deep down, they don't want you to shine brighter than they do. They don't want you to succeed past the place they've settled. But hear me now, you are not responsible for someone else's insecurity. You are not called to shrink so others can feel tall. You are not called to hide what God has blessed in you just because someone else can't celebrate it. If they truly loved you, they'd walk beside you without needing to walk in front of you. If they truly supported you, they'd have no problem honoring what they see in you. Some of the deepest betrayal doesn't come from strangers, it comes from those who call themselves friends, but treat your journey like a race. They clap with their hands, but compare with their hearts. They smile in front of you, but sigh behind closed doors. And their imitation isn't flattery, it's a quiet war. One where they hope to become you without ever becoming honest. But I want to tell you something, you don't have to keep pretending you don't see it. You don't have to keep sharing your dreams with someone who sees them as a blueprint to outdo you. You can step back. You can protect your peace. You can love from a distance without feeding the silent competition. Because God is not a God of confusion. He is a God of order. And when there's confusion, when there's secret rivalry, when there's hidden jealousy wrapped in false friendship, you must discern it and move accordingly. The real ones won't imitate you, they'll intercede for you. The real ones won't compete with you, they'll cover you in prayer. The real ones won't copy you, they'll call out the greatness in you without fear. And those are the people you need close. Those are the ones worth walking with. Because in this life, it's not about how many people surround you, it's about how many people see you without trying to be you. Don't mistake imitation for intimacy. One of the most painful signs that someone close to you secretly harbors hate is how they treat you when you're hurting. You see, love shows up in pain. Real love doesn't run when your soul is bleeding. It sits with you. It listens, it prays, it covers. When someone secretly resents you, your moments of pain won't draw them closer, they'll make them colder. They won't step in to comfort you, instead they'll step back. Not because they're giving you space, but because deep down your vulnerability doesn't move them. It satisfies them. I know that may be hard to hear, but some people don't just ignore your pain, they feel justified by it. They see your tears, and instead of compassion, something in them quietly feels validated. They won't say it. They'll mask it with silence. But in their hearts, your suffering doesn't grieve them, it reassures them. Because they've been waiting for a moment when life would humble you, waiting for the high places in your life to level out, waiting for your strength to tremble so their silence could finally make sense. Pay attention to who disappears when you're going through it. Not everyone who walks away during your storm was confused, they were revealed. When you were winning, they stood next to you. When your name was being praised, they smiled just enough to blend in. But when your world shook, they vanished. Not because they couldn't reach you, but because they never really wanted to. They were never planted in love. They were rooted in comparison. And when your pain stripped you of the strength they secretly envied, they no longer saw the need to pretend. See, someone who truly loves you can't watch you suffer and stay silent. They'll reach out. They'll check on you. They'll speak life even when they don't know what to say. But a heart filled with secret hate sees your struggle as proof that you're not untouchable. It comforts them in a twisted way. And the absence of compassion becomes the loudest confession they'll ever make. Some of you have been hurting in front of people who won't even ask, "Are you okay?" You've cried around people who didn't even blink. You've hinted at the ache in your soul, and they just changed the subject. That's not love. That's not friendship. That's not support. That's a heart that's disconnected from yours. A heart that never truly cared but played the part as long as you were strong. It's easy to love someone when they're on the mountaintop. Easy to be present when the light is bright and the applause is loud. But valleys exposed was really walking with you. Loss reveals loyalty. Pain tests presence. And when you're at your lowest, the ones who stay, that's love. That's real. That's rare. The rest, they were only there for the highlight reel, not the heartbreak. And maybe you've tried to make excuses for their absence. Maybe you've told yourself they're busy, overwhelmed, or just don't know how to respond. But listen, when someone wants to be there, they make it known. It doesn't take a long speech. It doesn't require perfect words, just a message, just a prayer, just a voice that says, "I see you, I care." Love doesn't hide in the shadows when pain walks into the room. Love shows up, even if it has to stumble in. But when someone secretly hates you, your pain isn't their problem, it's their proof. Proof that you're not as strong as you once seemed. Proof that maybe they were right to envy less and judge more. And instead of reaching for your hand, they fold their arms. Instead of offering grace, they watch from a distance, hoping you stay down just long enough to silence the parts of you they couldn't compete with. You can't change that kind of heart. You can't convince someone to care, but you can protect your spirit. You can stop opening yourself to people who only show up when you shine. You can stop expecting love from those who've never known how to give it. And you can trust God to surround you with the right ones, those who see your pain and move toward you, not away. Because the truth is, someone who's secretly against you won't pray for your healing. They won't carry your burdens. They won't lift your name when it's been dragged through the dirt. And you shouldn't have to beg for the kind of love that leans in when life breaks you open. So if you're in a season where you're hurting and the people closest to you have grown silent, don't ignore that. Don't push that down. Let it teach you. Let it purify your circle, because some people aren't quiet by accident, they're quiet on purpose. And their silence is speaking louder than any words ever could. Pay attention to who stays silent when you need them the most. There's a certain kind of heaviness that comes from being around someone who makes you feel like you're always doing something wrong. No matter what you say, how kindly you speak, or how hard you try, it's never enough. You walk on eggshells, tiptoe around their moods, and second-guess yourself more often than you'd like to admit. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to lose your voice. That's what manipulation does. It doesn't always scream or raise its voice. Sometimes it whispers through guilt. It gaslights you into thinking you're the problem, when in reality, you've just been targeted by someone who has no intention of loving you honestly. Manipulation hides soft smiles and calculated silence. It twists your intentions and makes you question your worth. It turns the mirror on you until you start apologizing for things you didn't even do. When someone close to you secretly hates you, they won't always attack you directly. That would be too obvious. Instead, they'll chip away at you little by little. They'll say things that sting, then laugh it off like it was a joke. They'll withhold support and then accuse you of being too sensitive when you bring it up. They'll plant seeds of doubt in your mind about yourself, about your calling, about your future. And those seeds grow if you let them. They grow into confusion, self-blame, and silence. Let me tell you something. Love doesn't manipulate. Love doesn't use silence as punishment. Love doesn't make you feel like you're walking through a maze with no way out. Love brings peace. Love brings clarity. Love holds you accountable. Yes, but never at the cost of your soul. Manipulation, on the other hand, thrives on imbalance. It thrives on control. And when someone secretly harbors resentment toward you, they won't confront you with honesty. They'll control you with subtlety. They'll make you feel like everything is your fault. If they're angry, it must be because you said the wrong thing. If they're distant, it's because you didn't try hard enough. If the relationship feels cold, well, maybe you weren't loving enough. Do you see the pattern? In their mind, you're always the one falling short. And the longer you stay under that weight, the more you begin to believe it. But the truth is, someone who really loves you will never use your kindness as a weapon against you. They'll never use your loyalty to trap you in emotional confusion. When someone silently hates you, they'll distort the relationship just enough so that you keep giving, keep explaining, keep fixing while they keep receiving, keep blaming and keep hiding. And they do this because deep down they don't want healing, they want control. Now, I want to speak to the soul that's tired. You've been trying to keep the peace. You've been trying to be the bigger person. You've been walking with grace, turning the other cheek, praying for understanding. And still it's not enough. You've cried in secret. You've questioned yourself in silence. But today, let the truth set you free. You are not the problem. God does not call you to remain in confusion. He is not the author of manipulation. When He places people in your life, it is to build you, not break you. It is to refine you, not confuse you. And when someone close to you becomes a source of constant blame and silent punishment, you must begin to discern the difference between loyalty and bondage. Loyalty doesn't mean losing yourself to keep someone else comfortable. You were created in the image of God. You carry a light that was never meant to be dimmed by guilt or fear. And when someone tries to control that light, when they use your compassion as leverage, they are not walking in love. They are walking in hidden hostility. And that hostility, left unchecked, will drain your spirit and distract your purpose. There is nothing godly about being manipulated. There is nothing holy about enduring abuse disguised as friendship or family. And if you feel like you've been shrinking, apologizing, walking on edge, hear this: God sees it. God knows it. And He never meant for you to live under emotional control. He called you to walk in truth. He called you to walk in freedom. He called you to peace. It's time to stop excusing what you know deep down is damaging your soul. Love may be patient and kind, but it is not blind. Real love requires truth. And truth doesn't manipulate. Truth doesn't play games with your mind. Truth doesn't silence your voice. It lifts it. So if you've been made to feel like the problem for simply being yourself or expressing your needs, your hopes, your hurt, it's time to look again. That's not love, that's control. And control is not your portion. Don't mistake guilt for grace. One of the clearest signs that someone close to you may secretly hate you is how they react when good things happen in your life. Not when you're struggling, not when life is hard and you're barely holding it together, when you're winning. When God opens a door, when favor falls on you, when something you've prayed for finally comes to pass. It's in those moments of joy and breakthrough, that hidden hearts are exposed. Because real love rejoices when you rejoice, but secret hate, it grows quiet, it grows cold, and sometimes it even grows bitter. Pay attention to the silence that follows your success. Some people won't say a word when your blessings come. They won't congratulate you. They won't show up. They'll just watch quietly. And that silence is louder than any applause they could have offered. It's the silence of someone who never wanted to see you rise. It's the silence of someone who was only comfortable with you as long as you stayed behind them, beneath them, smaller than them. You see, when someone loves you, truly loves you, your elevation becomes their celebration. They don't compete with you, they cheer for you. They don't compare themselves, they thank God with you. They say, look what the Lord has done, and they mean it. But when someone harbors jealousy and resentment deep in their heart, your victory becomes their irritation. Your joy becomes their discomfort. Your answered prayers become a threat to their pride. There's something very revealing about how people treat you when the spotlight shifts. You didn't ask for it, you didn't chase it, but God elevated you. He placed something in your hands. He gave you a platform, a breakthrough, a new chapter, and the ones who were clapping before suddenly fall silent. Why? Because your blessings disturb their insecurities. Your light exposes the darkness they never dealt with. And instead of being inspired, they retreat into quiet bitterness. It doesn't always look like hate at first. Sometimes it's subtle. They don't text you like they used to. They don't ask about the things you're excited about. They change the subject when you share your joy. They keep their tone flat, their face blank, and their heart closed. They might smile, but their eyes don't agree. They might say, that's great, but there's no warmth in it. And deep down, you can feel it. You can sense that what should be a celebration feels more like tension. And that's because it is. Let's be honest, some people liked you better when you were broken. They were more comfortable when you needed help, when you were still figuring it out. You were easier to handle when your life was on pause. But the moment you start moving forward, growing, healing, building, that's when the masks fall off. Because your growth reveals their stagnation, your faith exposes their fear, your blessing reminds them of everything they've avoided, neglected, or buried. And instead of confronting those things in their own hearts, they project it onto you. But don't let their silence steal your celebration. Don't let their bitterness rob you of your joy. You don't owe anyone an apology for what God is doing in your life. You don't have to shrink to make others feel comfortable. You don't have to dim your light because someone else refuses to find theirs. If God has lifted you, rejoice. If He's answered your prayer, testify. If He's brought you through, don't be afraid to shout it from the rooftops. The people who are truly for you will dance with you when you win. They'll stand beside you, not behind you. They'll remind you that this is just the beginning, and they'll thank God with you, not just for you. And those who can't do that, those who grow cold, who disappear, who stay silent, don't fight to keep them close. Because when someone secretly hates you, there's silence in your successes isn't confusion, it's confirmation. You don't need to beg for support. You don't need to explain your joy. The people God sends for your next chapter will know how to celebrate with you. They won't flinch when your season changes. They won't grow distant when you're blessed. They'll see what God is doing and say, yes, Lord, do it again. So watch how they react when God moves in your life. Not everyone who claps is clapping out of love. Not everyone who hugs you is holding you in honesty. And not everyone who smiles is smiling from a clean heart. Some are watching you win, and deep inside, they're hoping you fall. But your job is not to change their hearts. Your job is to stay faithful to what God gave you. And if He brought you here, He will sustain you. He will protect you. He will surround you with people who don't just watch you rise, they lift you higher. Because joy is too holy to be shared with jealous hearts. Let their silence speak. Let their absence confirm. But don't let it stop your praise. Your blessing is not up for debate.